Hey everybody, today we're going to be talking about a game which for me has become one of my all-time favourites. It's called GORF by Bally Midway and it comes from the very early half of the 1980s with the classic arcade era. For me it had everything, a bit of Space Invaders, a bit of Galaxians and even some likenesses to Phoenix in one of the later levels. There was speech in the game, it had a great control stick and just everything about the game had me hooked and just constantly shoveling money in when I was a child. I managed to get one of these cabinets loaned to me for a while, and I also managed to get one myself. And the one that was on loan to me needed some work doing on it. It has some rank lights at the side of the screen. And those rank lights indicate where you are in the levels and how well you progress through the game. And they weren't working, and we wanted to get them working fully. So we've done an investigation. This video is going to show you about the machine. It's going to show you some wiring behind the scenes. It's going to show us making an adapter as well for it. I hope you enjoy the video. Stick around right till the very end because we've got some other things to tell you about as well. And here's the components we're going to use to build the output side to the main GORF loom. So GORF uses 0.156 pin headers and these were very popular in the early 80s, not quite so popular now. Pinball machines still use them, but that's about all I can find that still uses them. The GORF uses a 19 pin one and a 12 pin one. So I can't find a 12, I can find plenty of 12s, but I just cannot find 19 pin ones. The other part of the problem is that on the original power board they're all right angled pin connectors, which means they go through holes on the board. We don't have that luxury because we can't find a strip board with 0.156 headers on, so we have to go through a whole etching process and things like that, and we just for what it is we're not going to do it. So what I found what I found is a 15 and a 4, which makes 19. We only need the output side of the thing anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these, pop them on the edge here and just use a little bit of hot glue, and that's going to be my that's basically going to be my edge connector for it. And then what I'll do is I will trim the board somewhere about here, and I'll use some of the wire points on the board to make bridges for all these ground pins and 5s and things like that. And that should then help with not having a mess of wires on the top, and I can just wire it point to point. We'll keep it as neat as possible. I won't cut the board until the very last minute. So do all the wiring first, cut the board last, that kind of thing. So I'm just going to get the hot glue gun out and just put a dab on the undersides of these, which is how the things are held on, how the wires get held on. They push into there and get held on. Now one thing I do have to do is there is a keyway to take out, which is at pin 6. So at pin 6, looking from bottom to top, then what I'm going to do is take out at least one pin out of this lot. So how I'm going to do that, I haven't quite figured that bit of it out yet. Probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that one there. What I'll probably do is glue the whole thing down, and then there's a couple of ways to get a pin out. I think I can actually pull it out before that. They're not, all they are is just stuck through the plastic, I believe. So I'm going to see if I can modify it first and take the pin out that I want out. It's just a pity I couldn't get, a 6 pin and then a well, whatever's required. It's better to use this because then the pitch, it's better to do it this way because then the pin pitch is absolutely exact. If you were to just chop it there and then try and leave a space, that you'd need some connectors to be able to work from. And I haven't got any spare connectors, so that would mean messing around at the back of the cab. So with the absence of that, all I can do, to be honest, is just pull a pin. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to get the hot glue gun out. Let's get some glue across the back of there. Let's get it stuck to here. Then let's start doing some wiring. I've already done one simple solder test on this, which was just to tin an end here. Because this is going to be a prototype, I'm not going to bother rubber insulating them, but I will make sure the connections are solid on the back ends of all these tabs. If I was building it as a cable, then I would definitely put rubber heat shrink across each one, and we'd go through that process. But what I'll do is I'll make sure the wires are well tinned, make sure that end's well tinned as well, and then I'll make sure that the two get flowed together properly as if they were one piece of continuous metal. So as you can see, I've now got pin 6 out, which is the one that we need. I managed to bend a pin at the same time, so now that's because I've just taken it to the back of the cab and just tried it on the loom. So straighten that out though. Anyway, so all it turned out to be was just a quick pull with a pair of pliers. Out it came. Right, so straighten those up, let's get the hot glue gun on, let's get this sucker glued down, and then we can start wiring. And here we have the finished adapter that we've been building. So we've got our Molex connector on this end, 0.156s, and then we've got a whole bunch of jumper wires on this end, and then at this end you've got the stuff to go to the switch mode. So -5, +5, 2 grounds, and a 12 volt. Some people would say, oh, you should put more than one 5 volts on there, but there's only one actual 5 volt terminal being used on here, which is just at this end, so I'm pretty certain that that's going to carry the weight of it. And there's the underneath of the board. So there we go. Blue is always -5 in my rigs, orange being 12, black being ground, and red being +5. And what this wire here is the reset circuit. There's a lot of different controversy. It doesn't seem to matter whether you have it pinned up to 5 volts or not. It's just that some boards won't reset without the reset circuit being present. So there we go. Let's go stick that in the cab and make sure it works. So before we do any other stuff, I thought I'd have a look at what was going on in the back of this machine. This is machine number 2. So this is one that was already here, had been loaned to me, and I'm just having a look in the back because this needed the switcher mod conversion doing. Now, this is the original power supply board over here, and those are the cables. That's the one that we're interested in, and that one can go and be just sort of tied back neatly out of the way when we're done. Okay, that's great. Now, what I'm finding straight away is a whole bunch of bodges in here. I mean literally, this is bodge city. So I'm just going to show you something. Down here, if I can get the right angle. Oh yeah, so there's the original connector that's hanging there at the top of the picture. And there's some wires that have kind of been just adapted in and soldered onto the back of the edge connector down there, and there's been wires cut in that and all sorts of things. So I'm sorry, but this is just a total bodge. I mean, this is... It costs a few quid to get the right connector and a few bits of wire, and all you have to do then is find a 240 volt supply. It doesn't take much. The power supply here for this switch mode is, in my opinion now, lethal, having looked at this a bit further, because it's actually taking it off the 120 volt line that the monitor uses, and to gain power, make sure I can, you see the kind of thing that's been done here? It's just been sort of tied together. In fact, actually it's now broken apart successfully as that. So that needs sorting out urgently, otherwise that's going to be a bit of a death trap. In fact, that won't start up anymore, I don't think. No, can't see it doing anyway. Which is a real shame, because I hate the fact... Oh yeah, no, they're quite well wrapped onto those, but they were just wrapped in insulation tape. At least get a bit of terminal strip or something like that, or some crimp connectors. Dearie, dearie, dearie. Anyway, the good thing is we know the board works, so anything that we do from here on in is only going to make things better a little bit. And so I've taken the edge connectors off now. My next job now is to take the PCB out, and I can get to that wiring loom and release that from the cab slightly, so I can pull it up over here over the edge of the cab, and I can get a soldering station set up, and I can free off those wires, and I can free off the connector, and hopefully I'm certain I have at least... They're hard to come by, these 0.156s, without ordering from the States, so I'm hoping I've got one kicking around that I can chop down to the right length, and if that's the case, then at least I can get some cabling going back onto that one, and that's this one back up and working. Hopefully, now I've put the display board lights back in place that I had out recently to test them, hopefully that should all power up the display lights and the control stick light and everything. I've actually had the monitor out of here and serviced it and got the red colour working again, which basically is a duff pot, so I need to get some new of this particular type of pot, or at least the right value for it, and the right pitch and everything. Anyway, right, so let's crack on. It's just made my job probably another couple of hours at least on top of what I'd planned after making the adapter. Alright, back in a bit. And here's a better shot of what we're talking about here. And now I've got it isolated, I can see just the extent of what's actually happened. And although it looks bad, it's actually not as bad as it looks. What I'm finding here is basically, so there's 2 wires being soldered on here. I don't know why not just buy a connector? You know, they cost, you know, a few pennies, and anybody who's into pinballs would have this kind of thing kicking around. It's 0.156 stuff. So, you soldered 2 wires on there, and then use the rest of the connector here. But what it looks like is, this is all the wire, this is all the connector, I'm going to zoom back out, that was part of the original loom, and what he's done is tapped that now to the power supply there, and that's why the board works, and the lights up the top there and everything, up the connector, what do you call it, the rank lights don't work. I'm sorry, I'm just really exasperated by what I'm finding here. And this monitor bodge, I think, is the icing on the cake. So, well, the power supply bodge for it anyway. So I'll find a new 240 volt feed somewhere to take. That's after this, after the isolation switch up here, and if that means running some extra cables and splicing in somewhere else, then so be it. So that's how you do a job, you know, basically, if you're going to do it. Anyway, because we want 240 after the switch for the switch mode. Anyway, probably take it off the feed sides of the tab, I think. Anyway, feed sides of the transformer. Anyway, I'm waffling. I just wanted to show you what had gone on here. So what it's looked like is he hasn't spliced into the loom, the previous owner of this machine. He's kind of just hacked into it with a machete and just basically chopped in, put these wires onto the switcher, taken a feed, and yeah, that's it, job done. Okay, that's great, but it's kind of just my thoughts on it. Whilst it does work and it does get the game working, there's two problems. The first thing is that the card light, the rank lights don't work up at the top, and that kind of makes it sort of 3/4 of a cab. The miniature upright version doesn't have them, and that's fine, and that'll be okay. But then the joystick light doesn't work either if you've done it this way. So that's one gripe about it. The second gripe is that this is unserviceable. So if something went wrong with one of these cards, yeah, they'll all remove from the rack, but what it's better to do is to be able to lift this entire rack in its block out of the machine and take it to your bench and work on it. And that's what you can't do here. So with these 2 wires soldered in, you can't. The only way to fix this is to take all these out, take every one of the cards out, and I have another identical card rack of this. It's probably a dead spare, which unfortunately a lot of people who are GORF fanatics do end up with a number of spare but dead card racks, and that's because the Astrocade chip is irreplaceable. The only way to get another Astrocade chip is to actually destroy another board that's got some other fault and take the chip off it that does work and put it onto a GORF board. Somebody somewhere will decode or reverse engineer this custom Bally Astrocade chip eventually, and we'll be able to last for the rest of humanity, or until they change FPGAs for something else, some other kind of technology. Anyway, so that's it. I'm going to take this off the switcher now. I'm going to take this back to the bench, desolder that, clean that edge connector up, and that's going to be the next job, and then start finding some way to actually get power for it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the power board that's in here. I'm going to leave it where it is. I'm going to physically leave it in place. There's no harm it being there. It belongs to the machine. Why take it out? I could repair the linear board. I'm loath to do so because the machine's working. There's probably a very good reason why the linear board hasn't been repaired, and I do know that the previous owner of this does know how to repair linear boards, so maybe there's something else inherently wrong. And to be honest, I'd rather have a switcher that's got some more modern fail-safes in it. I'd rather have a switcher die every every 6 to 12 months than the board get taken out because the two N3055s sent 12 or 14 volts into the 5 volt circuit and killed all the chips. So definitely worth it, because these switch mode power supplies tend to just fail at the drop of a breath. So the good news is that so long as you're not overloading the current supply on it, then they will keep going. Anyway, so we're waffling on here too much. More waffle, less coffee, and less work being done. So let's get this to the bench. Let's get it desoldered. Let's get a cup of coffee inside us and calm down a little bit. So anyway, time for a break. Okay, so I know I said I was going to take the board to the bench straight away, but I just wanted to have a little investigation and see what the lineage of this cab was. And it's become obvious to me that this was actually a US imported cab that's remained US power configuration and everything, which is fine. And that gives me a hint on what to do to fix some of the problems. The giveaway for anybody who's not seen it before is the power wiring. So over here on this end, Exhibit A, we have a UK style plug which has been quite nicely fitted to it, and then we've got a nice big long piece of black cable. Unfortunately it seems to have a piece of yellow tape around it, but I think that's my doing, and that's just a piece of tape that was surplus on the floor. I think actually I taped the cable to the cab whilst I was moving it because it was quite short. Anyway, so down here what you have is 3 wires. In the UK it's normally brown for live, blue for neutral, green for earth. US power wiring is traditionally white, black and green. Now don't ask me which way around the white and black are, because I've not really done much on US power wiring. I believe that the white is positive and the black is negative on the AC feed. I could be completely wrong, but it wouldn't matter that much anyway in most cases, because half the time the AC wave is positive and on one wire, and half the time it's negative on the same wire. So theoretically getting them the wrong way around shouldn't make that much difference. There are some electronics, but don't go doing that. Wire them up the right way. There are some electronics out there that do actually care about the phase inversion properly. So don't actually just wire a mains plug up the wrong way around, because you could get some problems with the device that you've got on the other end of it. PCs in particular, I think, are a bit sensitive to it. Anyway, so there's all the main taps on the transformer, there's the wiring, there's the old power board and everything. So I think the next thing to do, like I say, is oh yeah, one thing I did find was down here. So this, if I can get the white to stay where it's supposed to stay. So here is the connector. This is the J2 connector that we're going to interface with, and down here, following it around, what you find is it gets thinner about here, and that's because all the wires have been cut into it. Yeah, basically all the power wires have been cut out in, and they correspond with these wires here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those. So all I need to do now is, if I release these screws from down here, this cable will actually sort of come out a little bit. I can work on it. I can splice some new wires back into that, or I can splice the old ones back in more to the point, and hopefully repair this connector. Once I've repaired the connector, that'll go back on that board, and then, well, I'll test the voltages first before I put it on. I'd like to make sure that they're appearing at the correct pins. Fortunately, I have a nice big printed schematic for GORF, and I can figure it out from that. Anyway, right, so definitely bench time for that thing now, and let's just get that cleaned up. Alright, back in a bit. Right, so here we got the bench, and one thing I've done, and excuse sometimes if this goes out of shot, what I've got here in the workshop at the moment is I've got the camera set up on the other side of the desk, and I've got a little monitor by the side of it so I can see what I'm doing, because I can't see the little camera screen too easily. Anyway, so I just had a quick count up in the back of the machine, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wires here, and they match up the ones that have definitely been clipped out from the cab. So what we're going to do here is, my plan is now is that these wires are all original stock, so they will just follow 1 to 1, 2 to 2, etc. So basically I'll just be able to do them exactly as was. So I'll just continue them through. What I'm going to do is just use some bullet crimps, and it'll look a little bit messy in the back of the cab. I'll stick a wire tie around them or two just to neaten them up, but hopefully what I'm going to do then is chop these off of this end. I have this has got a keyhole in it, so if I can get that in shot. There you go, a little key pin, which is there. So I'm hoping that I can these are basically push and click, so I think if I get a small thin screwdriver in here, in these pinholes here, then I can possibly pop the pins out and resolder to them, which would be a lot nicer than just replacing the connector altogether with something that you know, something like an IDC or based connector. Anyway, so let's get on and we're going to need the big beast soldering iron for this one. There's not a lot to do to actually take those off. They've been soldered to the back knuckle of the pin. I can't get in any closer, unfortunately. So we're going to take the iron, get the old solder cleanery thing, and then what we'll do is just put a little tiny bit of solder on tin the end of the tip. I appreciate I'm trying to do this without getting my head in the picture. And clean the tip up. Right, now that should be hot enough for me to be able to get in. I'm getting the right one. Yeah, there we go, that's one off. That's two off, that's both of those off. Okay, so what we've got now is we've got some residue on these, so what I'm going to do is just, what I'll do is I'll just run a little tiny bit of solder on each pin, like so. And I'll get some solder braid in a second and just see the fumes coming off that thing. This is not a perfect way, this is just kind of a way that I've figured out how to do it. And I also have a fiberglass pencil as well. So there we go. There we go, most of that's off, so that's mostly clean now. I'll have to find some braid at this point. A little bit more in the picture than it's actually there, because if I go so all we need to do now is get some desoldering braid and give that a clean up. Right, so we've got some desoldering braid, we've got an iron. Let's there's some pins just out, there's some residue down the back of here. Yep. That certainly helped. I'm not a big fan of solder braid, I prefer me desoldering iron, but it doesn't work for legs and things like this too well. Well, that's certainly going to be clean enough for our purposes. Sorry about my head getting in the way a little bit there. Unfortunately, the onus being to get the job done rather than and just show you what's going on. So what I'm going to do is just try this connector back on here. Yeah, that fits perfectly. So that's a nice cleaned up connector. It's not perfect by any means, but it will make connections just one little bit. I'm being pedantic here, but there is basically a little piece down the bottom that I want to get off. which is going to bug me for all time if I don't, because I have that kind of... You see the fumes coming off the bloody thing, and there you go, and then it's on the braid. Yeah, much better. Done. Right, so that's that side of the that's that side. So anybody who's never seen a GORF card rack, by the way, this is what they look like. So and this one's actually in a different order. Okay, so one thing I've just found out about these is it doesn't seem to matter which way around the cards are actually in the stack. It must just sort it out itself. There must be, I don't know, I don't even want to get into the electronics of how that side would work, but I have two other sets which are a different stacking order to this. Now, at the worst case, if these don't, well, that makes sense because the dip switches are on the top here. So on the set that I've got, it has this is the interface, the connector board here at the top, and then it has another one. In fact, let me get the one that's just behind me. Yep. So here we have my spare set, and let's see if I can zoom out a little bit. There we go. And I think just for bragging rights at the moment, there we go, there's a third working set, and you can see that the top two, what I've done is I've mirrored the card rack layout for it, and the bottom one is the one that we know is a definite known worker. I think what I'm going to do is swap these round, swap certainly my one round and make sure it works that way. I'm not so sure. I'm going to speak to the owner of this one that's on loan to me, this set here, and just see what they have to say about it and say, well, does it definitely work? So, there's no way they could have tested it, let's put it that way. It was supposed to be known working when it went to them, so anyway, let's plod on with what we're doing. Let's get the project done, and then we can mess around with spare board sets later. And if I can get these two working and tested, then that will be on the end of the video, and that'll be pretty great. Anyway, stand by. Let's sort this connector out here and see what we can do with that. All right. We've got this little connector here. Let's see if we can't tidy this thing up a little bit. So one of the things we want to do is to try and pop these pins out, and then we can hopefully resolder them, or at least recrimp them, see what I can get, see if anybody's got any 0.156 pins. So I think it should be just a case of doing that. They look like they're the kind that you just lock in place. I'm sorry, I need to put a little bit more pressure on it than that. There we go, I'll let it click. Here we go. And out she comes. There we go. That's all you got to do. And while those are those are crimped on, but I can repair that. So what I'm going to do is, I think what we'll do is we'll work on them one set at a time and pop them back. So first things first, let's release this this solder here. Okay, so it's definitely going to be. Let's clip it. Could very well have probably sorted that out, but let's just do that. Right. So with the two reds there, which, let's, according to that, they go in that way when they go back in. Yeah. Okay, so I will just need to pop. Oh yeah, I see it. Pop that back out. Okay. So that there forms how it clips into the back of the plug. So now I've popped that back up, that will happily click back into place when I'm ready. So the procedure is going to be, I believe, is I think we'll renew. Let's see what we're going to do. I'm not liking the way that these are botched together, so I think what we'll do is we'll strip these back. Yeah, we'll reuse all the original wiring for this. What we're going to do is strip these wires back gently, apply, and basically the same with the other ones, because these are two. Obviously these two go to the +5. I'll double check that with the schematic. So if that's the case, then what we'll do is we'll make sure they've both got independence. So they're all one feed. They go down this end of the cable. All we can do is put some sleeving over it, heat shrink it down, and get a better connection. I don't like the idea of just using tape. Let me take this electrical tape off that's here. There you go. See, that's the kind of thing we're finding underneath that. And you know, if you just want to test something out, a bit of electrical tape's fine, but if you want it to be permanent, then do a decent job. So we seem to have 3 connected together here. I'm going to assume that they are all ground. It would make sense, but we'll check. We'll get the schematic out. We've got that. Let's have the schematic. Let's have a look at what the pinnings are on the input side of the card edge connector, the card rack, and that should give us a hint. Right, let's do that, and we'll pair these back and we'll rejoin the wires to them correctly, put some heat sleeving over the end, and pop them back in the connectors where possible. Now the tricky ones, so what I'm going to do is I'll pop that one just the wrong way up for a moment, just so it's sitting there. Got some very, very short ones here, and so I think my only course of action with these is just to pop them out and see if I can't solder straight onto the. Let's get that one out now. There we go, click. There we go. And he's out. So let's have a look at this one. Yeah. So my one and only option here is to just literally solder a piece of wire straight into that connector, straight onto the back end of that, which shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, straight onto the back end of it, and then Yeah, straight on the back end, because I don't think I'm going to get that. I might be able to pare that back. If I can, there's one here that's been really well cut back. I wish people wouldn't do that. I'm going to guess that that's probably 12 volt. Anyway, I'll know when I look at the schematic better. So that's what we're going to do next. Anyway, so that's a bit of an investigation of that section of the power supply. Let's move on. Let's leave it as what's happened has happened, and forgive those who trespassed before us and all the rest of it, as they say. And let's fix it. I'm still shocked for words. It's not the easiest connection to make. There's two wires in mid-air and you can't really twist them together because you've got such short tails to use and stuff like that, so not the easiest type of connection to do. And then all we have to do then is slide up that piece of heat shrink and then use the back of the soldering nail or a heat gun or a lighter, of which I have. The heat gun is on the shelf. And what I'll do is I'll just use the back of the nail there. You can see it shrinking now nicely down. There's a point where that rubber will actually go quite molten, that I've discovered, so just very, very, very light pressure with and don't use the tip of the iron, use the back of the iron if you really want to do it this way. So, well, it's taken some effort, but there we have one finished connector. So I've learned some lessons along the way on this. There you go. I learned some lessons along the way. The ones that had very, very short clippings done, like the orange one, I tried to do heat shrink across them and it just won't fit back in the plug. So what I've done is I've soldered onto the back of the tab. It's nice and firm. It's out of the way, so it's not going to short against anything. It's already inside the plastic housing. I should have probably realised that when I was doing the orange one there, but I thought, well, you know, a nice neat job. Every one of these now is solid and is verified all the way through, back up to this end here. So I think what we'll do now is we'll just pop the we'll pop a few things out of the way. Zoom out a little bit on the camera. And we'll just try it on the card rack and make sure it fits perfectly and everything. There's no reason why it shouldn't. Just some of these solder boulders that you get. This is the one. So let's try it. Let's try this on here. So we've got our keyway, we've got a cleaned up connector. We'll push onto that. And solid. Rock solid on the back of that. No problems there. So that's good, that's that fixed. And we are behind the cab and we've reassembled a few things, moved a few things around. We've put the switch mode supply up here instead of over that side where it was. I've reassembled the card rack into position. As you know, we cleaned up the connectors on there and I've reattached those to the side of the cab, and there's our board in place with the connector on it, ready to go. So I've put a clip up here. This card connector is not going to hit against anything. I can always put some insulation across the back of there if I even think about it. I'm going to put some feet through it anyway and screw it to the side of the cab in a minute. But I just wanted to sort of show it stood there. Anyway, so let's find a plug over here. Stick her into that. Everything's connected. Let's pull the switch. And we'll walk around the front. Okay, some further investigation required. What have we done? What have we done there, I wonder? Okay, so what I've had to do, what I've investigated is that the reset line that I tagged in on pin 4 was holding the board in a constant state of high reset. So I think what I'm going to have to do is to foolproof this design is probably mimic the reset circuit that's on the original power supply boards in here. So I'll have a look at the schematics. It's there's very little to it. It's basically just there's an IC and a few resistors and stuff, and that'll basically be it. I have plenty of space left on the board to populate some components and rig it in. This particular board, I've cut the reset line, and if I come around the front here, we're fully working. So let's put a test credit on it. Okay, there we go, screaming at me long live GORF. And the rank light and the... we seem to have lost the... I seem to have lost the control stick light for some reason, but that could be anything. Alright, well we'll have a look into that anyway, but the main thing is that the cab's now working. The machine is now working completely without the need for... apparently you can't escape the GORF robots. Anyway, the cab's working completely without the original power board being in the loop anywhere, which is a miracle, because it wasn't before, and we've got the rank light. Permanently on. Okay. That wasn't permanently on before, was it? when we first powered the machine. Anyway, we can investigate those things, but this video was more about the adapter wiring anyway. So anyway, job done. Let's put the cab back together, and that's a good one. Welcome back again. Thanks for watching the video right to the end, and I hope you enjoyed what we've done today. I hope you've also learned how it's so easy to convert a GORF machine, which has a pretty complicated looking wiring loom, over to be able to work with a standard switch mode power supply. So I hope we've taught you something. What I really like is a little bit of feedback from you. If you like what we've done here, please click the like button below the video. And if there's any questions you want to ask us, please put them in the comments below here or on the Facebook page underneath the video, and we'll try and answer them as soon as possible. One of the things we're thinking about doing is doing a video log, which will be set on a separate channel. And we'd like your input onto that. A lot of people do video logs besides some of their videos, and instead of putting them on the main channel, which is reserved for probably the longer videos and when we go to the arcades and when we do events and things like that, I thought it might be nice for me and some of the crew that are behind the scenes to do some vlogs from the rest of our lives. Some things that are related to gaming, some things that may be going on in our lives. So if you've got any thoughts on that, drop a comment in the comments section, or even send us a direct message. One of the things we've noticed is there's not many people. We're getting a lot of views on the videos, but not many subscribers. If you want to see what new videos that we have coming out and be informed each time we post something new, then the best thing to do is to click the subscribe button, which is up at the top corner above the video. So go ahead, hit it. We'd love to have you subscribe. We'd love you to be part of our little group and to keep watching the videos. Do feel free to share the content on Facebook, Twitter, and on any other social networks as well. The more people that get to find out how to keep these things going, the longer we can preserve the history of them. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed watching. Please do tune in for more videos coming very, very soon. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.